So, good morning, everybody. It's Andrew Jenkins here, and this is a short countdown timer to help the various feeds catch up and settle down, folks. And we can't wait for today's groovy show. And we never quite know whether we go live or not, and we think we're on live right now, so please let us know if we're live. That would be really helpful. And Sarah's waiting patiently for the feed to come up. It's all a bit scary when we first go live. And in this week's Leaders Live, we hang out with my mate, Ciaran O'Donnell. And our theme today is, what has accountancy and cash flow got to do with cold showers and Rubik's Cubes as well? So, wow. And we might have an R in there as well. So give us a quick wave, Ciaran. Quick hello.
How's it going?
Good. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Hopefully we've got no echoes. And Sarah, quick hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. And we have Tilly's gang from Marketing CX in the background, just in case the comments don't come up our end. We're still waiting for the bloody comments to come up. So that's a technical term, by the way, excuse me. And LinkedIn has been giving us some really weird issues recently. So Ciaran, me, Sarah, Ghost, our sponsors, and Marketing CX, that's the team today, folks. So quick wow for that. So there we go. And we're just leading up to our intro, our Ghost intro, coming up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bop. There it is. Well, good morning again, everybody. Oi, oi, people, and hi, gang. It's Leaders Live time. Folks, I'm not quite sure if the feed's coming up yet. We'll come to Sarah in a moment. I can't see it yet in eCam, so hopefully, Sarah, you live in the background, Mrs. Moderator?
Not in eCam, but I'm live on LinkedIn, I think.
Lovely. Okie dokie. Well, there we are. And have we got comments flowing through at the moment?
We have.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, so we're live, folks, on Leaders Live. Spreading the love, folks. Spreading the love. Yabba dabba do. Hope you enjoyed that groovy opener intro, gang. And this week, we're delighted that we're being powered by our sponsor, brand and design agency Ghost. And please let us know if our audio is coming through to okay as well, please. And if you're new to Leaders Live, a warm welcome to you. And as you probably know as regulars here, Leaders Live is a dynamic weekly talk show that generates business through networking, through community, and extraordinary conversations that inspire, folks. And as I mentioned in the countdown, I'm Andrew Jenkins, and I host this interactive weekly Leaders Live show that's built an awesome community of like-minded leaders. And if you're new to the show, please let us know. We'd love you to introduce yourself to us so that we can say hello to you and the community can get to know you. So please don't be shy. We'd love to introduce yourself, as I've just said, and we encourage you to actively network, build relationships with each other. But we have 3 simple rules. We build a safe community, we have mutual respect, and please, no selling in the room. So, join in, interact with the comments as we go along. We usually get a lot of comments, lots of interaction. And our motto here on Leaders Live is I to the power of we. And as usual, we're streaming out on all major social media channels and websites too. And don't you just love tech? We had a few problems with tech this morning, but we've resolved them all. So, and not only can you catch us live, there's the replay too, and we're on podcasts as well. And I'm sure you appreciate there's a huge amount of work and love that goes into producing this high quality free Leaders Live business show, folks, every week for you guys. And one really easy way that you can give back to us and show us that you appreciate and love us as well, love the show too, is you can buy me a coffee using the link buymeacoffee.com /Leaders Live. And Sarah or Tilly will put the link in the feed in a moment, and you get a shout out too. What's not to like about that? I could do a quick demo, but I forgot to set that up. So, but you get a shout out too on the show. And you can see the link, the QR code is on the page as well as the link. So it's awesome. Have a go with it. It's a bit of fun. And all proceeds go back to make the show even more better, folks. And smash those likes too, folks, those thumbs up. We really appreciate that. Keeps us motivated too. And we'd love you to subscribe to our email list. And to make that really simple, we have now a single link, which Ciaran introduced me to actually, a link tree, which will be in the chat as well. And Sarah will pop all that lot in very shortly. And yeah, Linktree's like a virtual business card. If you haven't got one, have a look at it, check it out. It's really awesome. Thanks, Ciaran, for telling me about it. So, Phew, put it all together. What do you got? Yep, bibbity, bibbity, poppity boo. You'll be singing that song for ages. So let's bring in our guest for the morning. Where's the side-by-side scene? Here we go. So good morning, Ciaran. How you doing, mate?
Good morning, Andrew. How's it going?
It's fine and dandy. Thank you very much. Now that we're all live and we're everything's flowing okay, that's fine. So yeah, and our theme today is owning your numbers, right? And Ciaran's business name is one of his businesses is knowing your numbers as well, Ciaran, right?
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I've called myself a virtual FD since 2010.
Since 2010.
And I guess the inspiration to what I call own your numbers came from just trying to condense down what I do, or how I want CEOs and MDs and people running their business to feel about their finances.
Yeah, and not to worry too much about the numbers, right? So you don't glaze over. And, our title today is What has accountancy and cash flow got to do with cold showers and Rubik cubes? Well, I don't know, but we'll find out today. But I think that deserves an ooh. So there we go. So get us going, Ciaran. Set the scene for us today. Kick us off. Where's our direction of travel? What are you going to inspire us with today, Ciaran? Over to you for a few minutes.
Well, I guess for me, numbers is quite a dry subject, but it's front and center of every business, every leadership. You don't just have to be the CEO or the MD running the business. You could be just part of a leadership team, but you have a vested interest in just the underlying financial health of a company. You might be incentivized, you might not be incentivized yet, but having a stake is quite important. And I guess when it comes to numbers itself, we're not necessarily going to talk through profit and loss or cash flow or metrics today. But I guess in my world, I find that the real traction I've made over the past few years, especially, is by just bringing some analogies into the world of numbers, which can be quite a dry subject, but people get analogies.
Yeah.
We've had some real great stuff on Leaders Live over the past few weeks. Cold showers is just one of these running themes that comes from week to week. Comes back in different ways. And I guess it's something, funnily enough, that I've talked about. I do these beach talks, which I put up on YouTube. And one of them, just funnily, is on the cold shower. And I can talk people through what has cold showers got to do with cash flow forecasting.
Yeah, Ciaran asked us last week on the show are we the Mutual Cold Shower Appreciation Society here? And It's all been started by Dr. Ian Price and Dulcie Swanston when they were on the show just a few weeks ago. And that theme has stuck, Ian and Dulcie. So thank you very much for introducing that. And I'm going to put you on the spot here, Ciaran. Have you got an audience question or do you want me to say it?
Well, I was going to ask if when it comes to looking at your business numbers, it'd be great to know from everyone tuning in, how do your numbers make you feel? Or how do you feel about your finances?
Oh, yeah. So there we go. So when it comes to looking at your business numbers, how does it make you feel when you do that? And, interesting question. So that's hopefully that's popped in the feed. I can't see it yet, but hopefully someone's popped it in the feed. And please answer that question. When it comes to looking at your business numbers, how does that make you feel? And answers in the comments feed, please.
Honest
on a postcard.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy. Absolutely. So hopefully that's in the feed now. And I'll come back to you in a moment, Ciaran, just in a tick. So over to Mrs. Moderator for a moment, if I can find the mod scene. Here we go. Yes, lovely. How you doing, Mrs. Moderator, Sarah Jenkins? How you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing really well, thank you. The comments are not coming in on Ecamm, but they are coming in on LinkedIn.
Lovely.
And it looks like my comments are visible today.
Yay!
So, yay!
We're making progress, folks. We're making progress.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to do a big shout out to, we have a newbie on the show, which is lovely. I'm sure there are lots more, but she's been brave enough to put something in the comments. So welcome to Sarah McNichol. She's just out of a cold shower.
Well done, Sarah. Yeah.
She's totally new to the show. It caught her attention. So welcome, and we hope you enjoy it.
Brilliant. Is that one of your mates, Ciaran? Sarah?
I don't know. I'm not saying I'm Mr. Popular on LinkedIn, but welcome, Sarah. It is honestly, it's an infectious way to start your Tuesday mornings. So
Yes, thank you. And actually, Ciaran's got one of those infectious voices that we'll all just fall in love with. So, yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that's that. So let's just get our guest scene up. Thanks, Sarah. You've gone very bright for a minute. Has the sun
it's like
just
my
come
camera
out?
gone a bit nuts. I don't know what's happened, but anyway.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, well, I'm sure it'll sort itself out. And let's just give you a quick round of applause. There we go. So Ciaran's camera's just decided to go a little bit bright at the moment. And I've got a Facebook user. Hello, Facebook user. Hi, everyone. Just let us know who you are, because the names on Facebook don't come through. So we'd love to hear from you. So please do that. Comments aren't coming through on LinkedIn in our software, but they are on YouTube and Facebook. So please feel free to join in on Facebook and YouTube, wherever you are. Now then, that's it. Feel the love, Ciaran, and hope you enjoyed that fantastic build-up. Let's bring you back in again.
The confetti bomb.
Yeah, confetti bomb. So Sarah, over to you again, Mrs. Moderator. What have we got? Any stuff in the comments yet?
We have. Jonas
Super.
makes a really good point, actually. He says, let's stop talking about numbers as being complex, dull, or challenging. Our words create our reality. That is very true.
Isn't that true? Yeah,
Yeah,
our words create. Yes, our words create. It's how we feel about those numbers, right, Ciaran?
Yeah.
I would think so. I think there's a real bridge to being credible, being investable. So you don't have to learn and remember every number. No one has the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
But actually, by just only understanding the framework of your business, it can actually, and you can be upskilled. But when it comes to communicating it to your team, but also to investors, a huge amount of businesses are trying to raise money, and also the end game. If you're looking to sell a company at some stage, you just come across as a far more credible person. Now, it can either mean it's easier to raise money. It might actually mean that when it comes to the end game, you're selling your business for more than you think was possible.
Isn't
Why?
that nice?
Because you just came across as a far more credible business leader or CEO.
So the idea, I'm guessing, Ciaran, is to tell a story through the numbers, right? How about that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think every business has a story. In a nice way, everyone has a story. Every business has a past.
Indeed.
Every business has a future.
And the context could be around, the success of the business via the numbers, So yeah, interesting. What else, Sarah? Thank you.
Morning to Nancy Johnston.
Morning, Nancy.
Says numbers make her feel tangled up inside. So hopefully by the end of this morning, you are going to be straightened out and feel less.
Yeah, I empathise with that, Nancy. So I get that. Luckily, Sarah does my numbers for me, and she's an absolute expert at the numbers. And she also runs Ghost Numbers as well. So there we go. So many hats as Mrs. Moderator. Anything else, Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah McNichol. Numbers make her feel excited and challenged.
Ooh, wow.
Laurie has a dashboard that gives a quick look, digs
Nice.
into details about once a quarter, but because the colours on the dashboard are much prettier to look at. Yeah, I can.
Pretty colours. I like that. But there's a great example of numbers telling a story right through a dashboard. How simple is that?
So simple. It doesn't have to have every number.
No, just has to have the right numbers.
It just has, exactly. Just the key stuff elevated. Stick a graph on the page. Make the numbers big. Just don't come to a business leader with, pages and pages and pages of numbers that just turns them off. You can actually have, in a nice way, 90% of the conversations probably on 5-10% of those numbers.
Yeah. And then the conversation around the numbers, and we'll come to that later as well, and highlight what Ciaran, get into more detail on that as we drill down. Now, the title of this talk is about the importance of owning your business numbers through knowing your finance numbers for a start off. So what numbers should leaders be owning, on this show? What should we be owning? What should we be obsessed with, Ciaran, numbers wise? That's the right word.
I suppose without kind of drilling into so much detail, one great place to think about it, and everyone probably knows this phrase, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash flow is reality. So most business owners, business leaders will have their vanity stats, number of customers, number of views, number of hits, number of something. It tends to be always the biggest number. The most impressive number is the one that they want to share and socialize. And that's not a bad thing, because it can show momentum and it can show progress and whatever brain chemical comes out when people talk about it. But I think it just still needs a sanity check on what you're actually doing creates value. And even in a most businesses are set up to make a profit, make a return, make something. But there's also a lot of entities that would call themselves not for profit. They still have a financial responsibility that what they're doing still delivers some great output for their customers, but also from a profitability point of view, and more importantly, from a cash flow point of view, is just understood and managed in such a way that it can continue to trade through what we all now appreciate is 3 years backwards of very choppy waters, and 3 years arguably of choppy waters ahead for most businesses in this space. I think we were just joking earlier that there's normally two types of leaders in a business: one that has been through a very sticky cash flow issue,
Cash
and
flow
one that is,
squeeze, right? As you
yeah,
called it.
one,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the other one is they're just about to go through a cash
Yeah.
flow squeeze. So it's worth bearing in mind that you just want to build up and become more resilient to make sure that the tools and the systems that are right fit for your business just help you steer through this.
I love
Because
the way you said that. Steer through it. Yeah. Beautiful. Sorry, carry on. Kieran.
that's right,
Yeah.
and in a nice way as well. We
Mm.
have talked about on this show before. People are putting more than just money into these things. They're putting time, effort, blood,
Yeah.
sweat, and
Sweat and
tears,
tears. Yeah.
relationships, a lot
Yeah.
of sacrifices. And if people are going to go to this length, you want to make sure that these people genuinely have a great opportunity of making it work. So without getting negative, businesses can fail, and it's
Yeah.
okay to fail in an idea on a micro level.
Mm.
But it'd be a shame to get so many other things right: the
Yeah.
market, the customers, and the reason you failed is because you just ran out of money.
Yeah. And
You know,
yet,
if you get all the other things.
yeah. And yet that it's, that happens, right? Businesses have cash flow squeezes, right? For whatever reason.
And it's worth bearing in mind as well that a huge amount of people have started new companies since COVID, changed
Yeah.
their lives, and it's fantastic. But there's no gatepost that you have to, or checklist you have to go through where people go, do you know anything about finance? Because if you don't, I don't think you should go up the mountain. So there's an element of there's no gatepost, and it's lovely that it's so easy to get up and running and get moving quickly, really
Mm.
quickly. But also there's no one stopped you or stopping you saying, oh, you don't know anything about finance. Should you really be starting up a business? It's just a good warning signal to make sure that you just feel on top of these things.
Okay, so what you're saying is, look, you don't need to be an expert with the numbers. You just work with somebody who can help you just steer through the numbers. So is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or
Mm.
you identify where you don't feel confident,
Of
and
course.
you can get upskilled.
And
So
right,
getting
okay,
upskilled,
yeah,
fantastic,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you don't have to become an accountant, but you still need to be the leader of a business. By the
okay,
way, leader, I mean like that top tier of people who are delivering some great strategic plan. Yeah, nobody knows everything, and that's
no,
okay. But sometimes not knowing stuff is brilliant because now you know what you need to learn or
what you're
fill
missing,
in.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
or get someone to help you to upskill that bit or to cover that bit. And it sounds to me that you've got accounting on the one hand, but you've got accountability on the other. And tell us about that relationship.
Well, I love that because accounting is just the driest subject. I mean, I find
Mm.
it particularly beautiful, and it gets me and my clients out of a pickle. Beautiful. But it's not about debit, bank, credit. It's not that, no.
Yeah,
But what I find is accountability is this wonderful thing that certainly in the last couple of years I feel I've always been accountable,
yeah,
but I feel more and more people use it as a word to pick themselves up and feel accountable to themselves, feel accountable to their teams, feel accountable to their shareholders.
to the
And it's not
business.
accounting,
Mm.
but a lot of that word is the same letters.
Yeah, exactly. It is. And yeah, that's a different way of looking at it. It's not looking at it as accounting, it's looking at it as accountability, right? That's,
Exactly. And
yeah,
accountability is lovely because people feel that they turn up at 10, they deliver what they need to deliver. But the only thing maybe missing sometimes is that there's an element of they don't know the accounting or the finances that underpin their accountability. So if they're selling or they're marketing or they're producing a product or they're the ops team, behind it sits some transaction in some way that I feel that the two are quite well connected, interlinked in certainly in a
yeah.
business environment.
I like the way you've bridged that. So it's, you're not talking about accounting necessarily. Yes, you are, but you're putting it into an accountability point of view.
Yeah.
And that's just a great analogy. I love that. And just quickly give you a break. Sarah, what's going on in the comments? Let's just catch up with what's going on elsewhere in the comments feed. Mrs. Moderator.
Mrs. Moderator. Maria Jeffers likes thinking big picture in terms of numbers, but doesn't really like the detail.
No.
Elaine Godley, been introduced to the profit first model recently, says it's brilliant. That's not something I've come across, so that'll be quite interesting.
Say that again, Sarah. So Elaine says what? Morning, Elaine, by the way.
She's been introduced to the profit first model.
Okay, profit first. Right. Profit
It's an
first.
interesting, it's a slightly different take for business owners that it's not controversial, but it's just a different way to help certain cohort of business owners feel like they've got visibility of their financials. So if it works for you, absolutely, it's a great book. You can have a read of it. And if it's a good method, it's like anything. If you follow a particular method, which we'll talk about with cold showers, it works. I mean, if profit first works for you and your particular type of business, fantastic.
Yeah. So, Elaine, if you've got a moment and if you can do that, if you could look up that and pop it in the book, if there's a reference to that and you can get to it easily, that would be brilliant. And good morning, Maria, as well. And fantastic to hear that you're a bit like me. I'm a big picture person too, Maria. And the details do make me kind of like, but actually, the numbers don't have to be detailed, right? They can be at high level too, Ciaran.
Yeah, I think one thing a lot of business owners build up over time is they solve problems. They're already solving a problem. In a way, the business they're building is because they see a problem or a niche that they can go into. So if you give a business owner a problem and say, we've got a cash flow dip in 25 days' time, business owners are very resourceful, very, problem-solving mindset, can do something about it.
Brilliant.
If they don't know about it,
They don't know.
because now the detail can say we're going to run out, but if you don't elevate the problem for a business owner, it can lead to a lot of stress later.
Isn't that interesting? Sarah, you do a lot of cash flow forecasting. What say you on that subject?
Just absolutely knowing what's coming and knowing, even if you know that you've got difficult times ahead, by not burying your head in the sand and facing it, you then go, right, guys, what actually are you going to do about this? Because whilst the numbers person can sit there and do the forecasting, they're not necessarily the person who goes out and gets the work. So it's a whole team effort and a communication. And I think, communication is vital. Ian makes a really good point. His brains love stories. So communicating numbers as stories is really good as well.
Yeah, and he's dead right, isn't he? And there's a story in itself. Look, cash flow, things are getting tight in the next 25 days. We need to be, we need to think of something to resolve this problem. There's this great story to get your brain, Dr. Ian, going, right? I wonder what dose chemical that would be. I'm sure Dr. Ian will tell us.
I think, but having you nailed it, Andrew. Having 25 days to do something, you have 25 days. Your phone ringing, especially as an FD, your phone ringing on the day when someone says, I've got a real cash flow pinch today.
Yeah.
It just reduces the amount of time and options you now have available.
Absolutely. You're out of options, right? Yeah, you've got no creativity.
We don't have to come out. There's some amazing stuff. Every accountant will have stories about the panic moments. As a business leader, it's to just try and avoid them.
Yeah.
So there is sometimes a sense of inevitability of something. Okay. But at least you can have, the more notice you have, the better.
Yeah. Matthias makes a really interesting comment. He said, interesting perspective about starting a business and finance. Last week, you heard Richard Branson being interviewed by Stephen Bartlett in the Diary of a CEO. Then he said he didn't know anything about finance or bookkeeping till he was in his 50s. So despite this lack of knowledge, and I suppose we can all agree, he has done reasonably well. But there's always the exception to the rule, isn't there?
I would say he's being modest, and behind him is somebody who kept him straight personally.
Absolutely.
However,
yes.
In fairness to Richard Branson, he's fantastic at saying the best learnings he's ever made in life are from failures.
Yes.
But he structured his businesses in such a way that the failure of one doesn't take down the whole thing. So if you picture one startup is one business, Virgin Cola being a classic, the way he has structured this is fantastic, that it's allowed him to really push into risky markets, risky business models. And if it fails, that's just kind of in his blood, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it is. But he also says, I've got very smart people around me. So, he's probably got a Mrs. Moderator somewhere in the background doing his stuff. And, I love that about hedging stuff off at the pass, was the phrase that just came to my mind. And if you're operating under fear, then obviously the chemical that's involved with that is our fear and panic chemical cortisol, which probably doesn't help us to make very good option choices, just thinking about it.
It's also worth remembering, if this stuff was easy,
Yeah.
everyone would do it.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's like building up your toolkit.
Yeah.
If you can be strong at certain skills from your background, and you've got great opportunity ahead, it is just a case of filling in the gaps. Not just finance. You might need an ops person, you might need a marketing person, you need an agency to build your brand. So you're always looking for these skills around you to help build that team. So
I like that brand agency to help your back, and that's a great shout out for Ghost, our sponsors as well. So just got that in there, Ghost. So there you go. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Anything else, Sarah, before we move on to another question?
Rebecca Jenkins was.
Oh, hi, Rebecca.
So we're all Matteo said we all make mistakes. We need to learn from them. Rebecca says, good point. If you're not sure, get some help. Don't let the driver's number. Don't let the numbers drive you. Drive the numbers. It reminds me of the phrase, is the dog wagging the tail or the tail wagging the dog?
Oh, lovely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and absolutely. So know your numbers and absolutely. I like that. It reminds me of, yes, failure's okay, but the trick is not to do it too often, right? We learn from our failures, but it's painful. But we do learn from our pain. But and there's a lot in the sort of LinkedIn feeds, if you read a lot on in social media at the moment about how important failure is. Well, actually, failure is flipping painful. We shouldn't make too much light of it, but we do learn from it, right?
I think you can have mini fails where you haven't actually taken down the whole business. You might have hired the wrong person.
Yeah.
So the idea of failing fast and failing often can apply really well on a micro level.
Yeah.
So like the lean startup is a classic methodology to just keeping your options open. But if you have a big failure, you're right, Andrew. I think it can be a very painful experience. You will learn a huge amount from it. It's got to be important to think that you're still in the game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of business leaders, when their business fails, they're naturally thinking of all the stakeholders, themselves, their family, their teams families. So it can be quite a tricky, stressful space. Again, there's no gatepost telling you about this when you're starting your business with all these great ideas and these great plans, and we're going to do this. There should be some sort of warning system. And I think LinkedIn, in fairness, and people's networks are getting better and better for people to understand that there are a few other issues you just need to get on top of. Yeah. And it can just help you and maybe make your business more resilient. So even a minor shock doesn't knock you off course.
Yeah, and talking about that, and what numbers are important, and thinking about the management meeting for a moment, or the leadership meeting, or just getting together with your shareholders, owning the numbers is what we're talking about. And from a management or strategic point of view, Ciaran, tell us a little bit about what busting some of the jargon that goes with the territory of accounting. If you talk about accountability, and what are the kind of important touch points that a management team need to talk about, instead of the technical stuff? How can they make it really simple?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I think, especially for a management team, the world of accounting is full of lovely jargony phrases, and just picking out a few.
Lovely, he says.
Oh, lovely. I mean, in fairness, they're there for a reason.
Yeah, they are.
I think, I mean, in simple terms, where you have accounts receivable, it's just who owes us money. And when you got accounts payable and liabilities, it's like, who do we owe?
Who do we owe?
So if you think about your cash flow, it's really a case of what's in the bank, who owes us, who do we owe, and when do we think this order is going to play out? So either we have a cash cushion, or we have a cash dip, or worse. Yeah. And even when it comes to actuals or management accounts, you can break it down as to how are we doing?
How are we doing?
And and forecasting where are we going? Because your actuals are behind you, and your forecast is ahead of you. So when it comes to steering a management team, I guess the balance I'm always looking for is 25% of their time and headspace can be on how are we doing, our actuals. So like last week, last month, last year, or year to date, but everything is ahead of you. So you've got to try and turn the leadership, the CEO, everybody. If we look ahead, that's where all the challenges are. That's where all the gains are. That's where, if we're not looking ahead, if we're not planning ahead, you can call it a forecast or a budget, but if we don't hang some numbers on where we'd like to take this business, you can see that we're a bit sailing blind. So you can see that part of the game is to actually have the structures of a finance function, but at the same time, use language that people buy into, because leadership will normally know exactly where they want to take the business. And it's great. We can just hang some numbers on that. We've got a forecast.
Yeah, that's just so beautiful, isn't it? So, all these jargony words like accounts receivable, accounts payable, actuals, forecast, they kind of make your brain swim. If you're, I'm just wondering, Maria, if you're anything like me listening, I'm like, ooh, what do those actually mean? But the simple way of looking at it, right? Who owes us? Who do we owe? How are we doing? Where are we going? 4 simple questions, and that drives an entire management team in terms of looking at those cash flow squeezes and, just looking at the future as well, Ciaran, right?
Yeah,
Lovely.
I think so. I think as we talked about resilience and mistakes, right now, today, you're still in the game.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So everything that you've been through, all the last kind of 3 years of COVID and recovering from COVID, and even for us oldies, the credit crunch was, it's 15 years ago, but it doesn't feel 15 years ago. We had austerity. We've had all these waves,
No.
but you're still in the game.
Yeah.
And that builds up a huge amount of resilience. When you think ahead, we have no real guarantees of how the economy and growth and opportunities will play out. So you might have a war chest of these, knocks and hits that you've had to deal with over the past however long you've been in business. And it does count for something. It probably means that the plan you're going to build is more resilient than the ones that you were building or you had in your head or on an envelope 15 years ago or 5 years ago or 2 years ago. So it means that you actually start to grow up and become a bit more serious about these things, because in a nice way, you're still here. We're still going. It's okay. But we can learn from that, and we can just build with our teams a plan that takes us forward, which also is maybe just more resilient. Not trying to say that you're not going to take a risk, but you might just feel like you're just going to be a bit more wise and sensible with the funding you've got, or the decisions you make, you feel are a bit more objective and nailed down a bit.
Yeah, and making decent decisions on. You talked about risk, and we're going to come back to the whole risk thing in a moment. Just reminded me. Mrs. Moderator, what's going on in the chat? Let's just give you a break for a minute. What's going on in the chat?
Oh,
Sarah?
lots in the chat. Dr. Ian, failure at the same thing too often, then you're not learning.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah McNichol, she thinks it's brilliant. So glad that she stumbled across us. Let's hope you join us again next week. It's really good to have new people on, and tell all your friends because it's fabulous.
Well, subscribe, Sarah. That'll be great. And then you get notifications. So there we go.
Kathy Heath, one of the biggest challenges when scaling up a business is knowing when things will take off and what that means for your numbers. You have to constantly review and adjust your forecasts to understand the reality.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, I like that. Ciaran, can you come back on that? That sounds interesting. My mate, Kathy Heath.
I think I kind of think that forecasts are just a bunch of ifs. So how good are your ifs? So a lot of businesses will start off with everything is an if. We don't know, but it could be credible. So we're never going to deliver the forecast, but it looks credible. And the further you go, it's a great point, because you can reforecast where some of these leap of faith assumptions, actually we start to deliver. Like
you see the pattern,
how much it costs us to acquire a customer, or how much we're spending on certain things, or delivering a margin on a product. And as they become a proof point, it can actually really simplify your forecast. So you can actually forecast quicker because you got these real proof points in the real world around margins on a product or something.
Yeah.
And instead of building this monster forecast, you actually find that what might have taken you, a few days for you and your team to pull together, it might be I don't say like a 90-minute conversation, but it could just be a scroll down with your team where you're just adjusting assumptions really quickly to see exactly where you are, because you're proving these assumptions work. So loads of experience in every business.
Yeah. Sorry, Ciaran, you can model those assumptions, right? With, they're saying like heuristics, KPIs, you get to know your numbers so well, Kathy, you know, that you know when you're on a growth curve, and because actually some of the KPIs coming back are telling you these figures are good, and the experience of knowing your numbers tells you that. Is that right, Ciaran?
An example would be that you could have somebody that says, "I'd love to spend 100K on a advertising campaign,"
Right.
and you say, for the first campaign, you're not getting 100K, but we could prove it with £1,000. And if we prove it with £1,000, there is more budget to hit the numbers we'd like to hit.
Yeah.
So you become better as a business leader of the leap of faith is, no, I think we should spend 125K to do South by Southwest, and everyone's going to be there, and we're going to come back with loads of business. People who go there, who make money at these big events, for example, will do really well from their prior experience of why they are there. But I'm sure that someone who's going to turn up will have paid a huge amount for that stall, comes away with not a lot of new business, and that's just from inexperience. So some of these within your forecast, you can easily go down the forecast list. I think my camera's gone. You can easily go down your forecast list and just go, where are we hot on these assumptions and where are we guessing? Guessing is fine, but at least you still want a proof point before you actually start writing big checks to people.
Yeah, and actually, Kathy is an absolute expert on modelling the numbers as well, and looking at that, whether the investment is a no-brainer or not. And she certainly helped me to look at that for my business as well. So and I like the idea of testing it and piloting it, and that whole agile thing of, okay, let's just throw a little bit of money at it, let's see if that concept works out. And is there a way that we can spend a little bit of money, learn from it, and then when it goes again, we'll spend more money on it because we know it works.
Yeah. I think it comes down to it's planning, isn't it? Yeah. Having that forecast, planning ahead. I think the worst thing that you can do is when you're panicking and it's the knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, when we make decisions when we're in a panic mode, they're not always the best rational decisions that we could ever make.
Oh no, we've been there, right? When your back's up against the wall, do not make rash decisions.
I think also you might be tempted. So a small business buying
tempted.
stock, for example, should just buy low volumes. Because you can't tie its cash up in stock. But the low volumes can help you prove the model.
Yeah.
And if it proves the model, the sales, you'll always have people buying stock. Packaging stock is a classic, where they'll be tempted by big bulk discounts from suppliers. But what means is they just end up tying so much of the money up in packaging. They kind of don't have the cash for other stuff because they've been tempted in too soon to make savings, when the initial step is not to make savings on every item. It's actually that there are customers out there who want to buy your product.
Yeah.
So you don't end up changing your mind and then binning stock.
You
have to actually just be careful of the decisions you make. Some are for early stage businesses to make. The later stuff, like reducing your costs to improve your margins. Some of these things can come later when you've just got a bit more money in the bank to make these decisions.
Yeah. So prove it works first, right?
That's it.
So,
be patient.
Be patient. Love that. That's really good. Now we did this. We're going to move on to the importance of cash flow forecasts in a moment, and as an important tool to run our businesses, folks. Now, just as a prelude to that, we did this quick poll on LinkedIn, folks. And this was interesting. So it was a really simple question. Business cash flow forecasts. Could you cope without them? Have a go, but struggle, sort of, but not written down, no idea. That was the poll that we sent out. We were astonished by the results of this, where 84% of respondees to this poll said they couldn't cope without cash flow forecasts. We were surprised at those figures. What do you think, Ciaran?
It sounds very positive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
no-brainer, really, doesn't it?
Honestly, I think we probably, if we'd predicted something, I would have thought at least 1 in 4 would have said no idea.
Absolutely.
So maybe,
I was
maybe it's
really
just
surprised. Yeah.
The leaders' live cohort of people are at the top edge of leading their respective organizations.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, because we thought we would get no ideas. Yeah, and sort of, but not written down. And there's probably a lot of people in that bit, although there's only 8% in this poll. But yeah, very positive to see that people are getting the fact that the numbers are important, right?
I think as we talked about, exactly in the world we're in, I think it's very positive. I think in the fluctuations, inflation is still where it's at. Hopefully everything kind of becomes a bit more calmer as we become less dependent on energy, or high energy
Oh, the
being,
cost
the
of
10
living
o'clock
crisis.
news. Yeah, it's a daily headline at the moment. Cost of living is here for a while.
Yeah.
It's not helped by these things. So the fact that people are looking ahead is a healthy thing, because it's an essential part of running your business.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. And, you know, just thinking about the numbers is a dry subject that we talked about earlier. And you then talked about, you know what, it's really good to talk in analogies for, say, cash flow forecasting. And, you know, we started the title off, you know, what's accountability got to do with cash flow and cold showers and Rubik's Cube. So do tell us, you know, just work into the world of analogy for us with these numbers.
The
thing.
analogies,
You know, give us some of your Ciaran O'Donnell magic for us so that we can understand some of the concepts here in a little bit more of a visual way, perhaps.
I was going to say the cold shower piece, to cover that off, I guess. For me, I mean, around 3-4 years ago, I had a friend who was talking about the benefits of cold showers, and just get in, turn on the cold water, and after around 40 seconds of pain, the hot water will come through. And, you know, I did it, and maybe I did it more than once, but I did not enjoy it.
No, it's horrible.
And when you don't enjoy it, I really didn't enjoy it. And I just thought, I'm stopping it. No, forget it. And I stopped it. And around 18 months ago, I was reintroduced to the world of cold showers. And it was just from another friend, and he said, give it a go. It was summer, and instead of stepping in cold, I just had a shower and just turned the temperature right down at the end.
Turn the knob down.
And I was telling him about this afterwards, saying it was doable, and he was like, well, that's the Wim Hof method.
I was saying, what?
The who? Wim Hof, what? Anyway, so I Googled Wim Hof method, and then sure enough, Wim Hof, like, as we all know, is the Iceman.
Yeah,
his method is just, look, just get in and have your shower, and then just the last 30 seconds, 60 seconds, just build yourself up. 10 if you want to 20 to 30 to 40. And also this gold advice, which was, if you can just manage your breathing, because you actually know more about the whole process, you can actually immerse yourself in cold water a lot longer than you think. So it was this gold advice of the Wim Hof method, but also armed with this second piece of advice, which was, don't just stand there and suffer. You can actually just breathe your way through. If you can breathe for a minute, just control your breath, you'll actually bizarrely do it every day. And it's been an amazing habit. Now, the forecasting piece, I guess, is I've worked with businesses where I know a lot of people who will say, yeah, I tried cash flow forecasting. I did it, but I hated it.
It's too painful.
And what did I do? I stopped doing it. And I've just been mindful of hold on a second. Such a nice parallel with stepping under cold water is, it's not the cash flow forecasting is the problem. It's actually the method. And if you can find a method, which means that you can refresh things in a certain order, in a certain frequency, you could probably have a good view of what is coming down the track in not such a painful way. So I guess, big up to the method. Everybody kind of thinks of, sometimes it's the method helps you do these things. So if people on this call do cold showers, you'll all know that it's probably the method of a bit of accountability, of course, but because it's just you, no one's standing outside the cold shower saying, have you done it? So it's down to you to decide if you want to turn the knob, but at the same time, the method really helps. I'm not like a cold water. I'm not a cold water expert.
No,
I'm a cash flow expert. So I guess I take the method of cold showers into that space.
Into the cash flow, yeah. And I like the way you don't have to face the flinch, because if you just go in dry, right, straight into a cold shower, the flinch is frightening. Same for cash flow, right? The more you do it, the easier it gets, and all of those
cash
things.
Flow flinch.
The cash flow flinch. That flinch, that must be a new word that we've just invented, cash flow flinching. Let's give you a quick break and go to Mrs. Moderator again. Sarah, what's going on in the...
I love that, the cash flow flinch. Yeah,
cash flow
flinch.
There was a cash flow pinch.
The pinch. I think the flinch is better.
The flinch is great, yeah.
So Martin Wood, I love this. Financial forecasts are similar to weather forecasts. Make long range ones, then adjust your short term ones as the weather fronts roll in.
Oh, Martin Wood,
Martin.
You're on it. I like that. Yeah,
that is very good. And again, it's visual, isn't it?
Yeah.
We all watch the weather forecast and we all go, "Oh, they got it wrong again." What a fantastic analogy! That is brilliant.
Love that.
Yeah, love that. Laurie Hales, understanding the economy is the weakest area, not good at reading the tea leaves, but luckily the US government seems not to care and contracts are awarded regardless. I'm not sure if that's good or not, but
Yeah, nice one, Laurie. Yeah, brilliant analogy. I like that. Yeah.
I can just see the weather forecast. That's just going to stay in my head now. That is brilliant. Yeah, Kathy Heath, understand the worst case economy wise, and more importantly, what it means for your target customers will be
Yeah.
the key to surviving and thriving.
Another what if.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff going on.
Good stuff. Great. Thanks. Anything else you want to pick up?
No, that's about it for now.
That's about it for now. Right. Okay. So let me just bring back this. Okay. So, entrepreneurs of startups, and a lot of people listening are probably going to be, have been an entrepreneur of a startup at some point, and business owners listening, it's really easy to see how our personal and our business finances can get all mixed up. Is this okay, or is it a no, Ciaran? And, give us your advice, your sage advice here, Ciaran, because it's so
that's
easy to get these things
it's
too
a
wrapped
great
up.
question. A lot of people, we probably all know people who it's the same person,
Yeah.
obviously in their personal life and running a business. So if their personal affairs are in a bit of a mess, chances are the business is also in a bit of a mess. Why? Because it's just the same person. No one really necessarily has a different discipline to one side than to the other. And I think when it comes to running a business, I mean, we talk, the old school term would be someone putting their hand in the till or using their business as an ATM.
Yeah.
It's
like
not
that
really
phrase.
an ATM. It shouldn't be seen as an ATM.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think when it comes to a business owner, if you picture, while it might be a low risk that HMRC or whatever tax authority wants to inspect your affairs, it's quite nice and easy just to be able to show them paid salary and paid dividends. That's the only money that you receive from your company is one of these two things. When you have a director's loan and there's £100 flying in and out, normally what happens is you've just got complete lack of control. And also the business owner doesn't really know what's going on. They're just drawing money. Sorry, they're just drawing money when they need to draw money. And I think what's quite interesting in this whole space is you can keep a business owner's affairs very clean as to how they are remunerated or pay themselves. But at the same time, what you're trying to do is there just has to be a healthy balance between the individual and their business. So founders, CEOs, they need to live. So they need to be able to draw some money from the business to be able to live. What you don't want, given it's the 31st of January, there's a real tendency for business owners to pay themselves last. Now, this is a real
the risk and
problem.
reward thing. Yeah.
Back to one of the contributors saying about profit first, one of the key things about profit first is it remunerates business owners quicker, because there is a trap where business owners don't pay themselves.
Yeah.
And they'll get to the end of 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and they're having a bit of a crisis and they're thinking, I haven't paid myself for 2 years. I mean, in a way, this isn't good enough. The business has to be designed where it looks after its key staff. The CEO or the MD or the business owner is pretty key to the whole operation. So that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is if the business can't afford the lifestyle that the business owner wants, they might need some sort of reality check or rain check. So if you're drawing too much money out of the business and it's destabilizing the business, it's also not good, because it's the hand that feeds you, but it's the hand that feeds all its other stakeholders. So there's a nice balance.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a great balance to play in this whole space, which is the two live and breathe together.
Ooh.
But if one starts to pull from the other too much too soon, you can see it starts to put a stress on the business, or it puts a stress on the CEO themselves.
Very nice and beautifully said. And I love that kind of tension between the kind of, the risk of setting up a business and also the returns. Make sure that you get paid, because the juice has got to be worth a squeeze, right, Ciaran?
Another example would be if you're raising money from investors, like angel investors or seed investors, it's quite reasonable for you to put a reasonable salary into your plan that you get paid.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel like you're getting beaten up by investors who say, yeah, we'll invest in the business, but I'm not paying you a salary. It's going to pay other people. So there's an element of mutual respect here, that if you're going to raise money from investors, please raise it from people who understand that you're building a plan and a business, but you also have outgoings that you need to cover. And there's a balance. The balance is that you can still live and deliver this plan and not have a personal cash flow squeeze. But at the same time, you're not expecting too high a salary for your investor to say, it's too much to be paying you at this stage. So there's a level of mutual respect that both sides have to work out.
Love that. I think that deserves a. Oh, so Ciaran, look, we're coming to an end just to signal that. And look, I'm just dying to find out about your Rubik's Cube skills and how you relate them to accounting. Is this a time that I can just point at that with you and kind of go, okay, look, give us a bit more. Yeah, there we go. Take it away for us. How do Rubik's Cubes affect financing?
let me explain my Rubik's Cube analogy is when it comes to solving problems. This is a great problem to solve. A lot of people think that there's a sense of mystery as to, well, you just fluke it, don't you? And in reality, I'm not a Rubik's Cube expert, but kind of like the Wim Hof method, if you follow someone else's method, you can solve the problem. So when it came to the Rubik's Cube, just to give you an example, it's my Irish blood, but I'll start with the green cross. This is just a set of steps to solve the Rubik's Cube. So if I just show you, kind of like cash flow forecasting, I'll try and hold it up so you can see it.
Hang on, I can probably zoom you. Look at that. Oh, look at that. There you go, Ciaran.
So all I'm doing is it's literally just a set of steps to move stuff into the right place. Now, cash flow forecasting is exactly the same process. So I got one side done.
Look at that. How does he do that while he's talking? That is quite impressive.
So if you think of a cash flow forecast, this could just be a reconciled bank balance.
Yeah.
Who owes you money and who do we owe? And just to give you an idea of the simple steps, this is not do 400 steps in one go. This is actually do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can move a piece into where you need to move it to. So there's an element of the beauty of the Rubik's Cube is that you kind of like a cash flow forecast. If you overwhelm a business owner too soon, with too much detail,
there we go,
you
Maria.
leave them kind of not.
That's for us. Yeah, look at that.
Got 2 layers done.
Yeah,
and look at that. You don't mess up. The nice thing about whoever's algorithm I'm using is that you don't mess up the pieces
what you've previously done. Yeah. So just
the
through a series of small
cube,
Oh wow.
Cross on top.
Yeah.
So if you think about your cash flow, you've got your bank reconciled, you've got all your invoices in, you've got your who you owe money to, you add in your payroll, you might have dividends to pay, corporation tax bill. So you can see by gluing all these things together, this is the slightly tricky bit. I need to try and find somewhere that actually works. But recognizing where you are in the process is quite important. And basically, I've now got the Rubik's Cube done, except for these 2 corners.
Yeah.
They're in the right place, but I just need to turn them around. So kind of like your forecast, the final bit is not to stuff it up.
Wow, look at that. I think that deserves a round of applause, doesn't it? My God, here we go then.
Obviously, I knew that I could do
it. That was brilliant. Doing that live, Ciaran, how good is that? We love that.
And the thing is, in fairness, we talked about if it's okay to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. And by the way, this wasn't the Blue Peter. Here's one I made earlier. But we did talk about part of the analogy is when you go through a simple set of steps. If you make a mistake, it's fine. Go back to where you recognize you're at.
Brilliant.
So if you have if you don't have the base layer done, it really is an invitation for you to at least know right now today what is in the bank and who do I owe and who owes me. That gives you just a great footing. And the other bits, like what's going to happen in the next 30, 60 days, I mean, you can just build on top of it to actually solve the puzzle. But the nice thing is, back to the Rubik's Cube, is that you can just do it again and again and again. Yeah, same with cold showers, you can do them daily. The cash flow forecast, you don't have to do a cash flow forecast every day.
No.
But even just doing it every 15 days,
or for your management meeting.
Beautiful rolling 60-day view. So back to one of the points we were talking about earlier is if you give a business owner a 60-day warning signal as to we're unsure what's going to happen in 60 days, we got 60 days to talk about it.
Yeah, love that. Thank you, Ciaran. And look, for you guys, this is Ciaran's. I love this little website of Ciaran's. This is your Know Your Numbers website, which we'll put the link in the chat in a moment. And there's a beautiful little, let's see if I can get this to work here. Sarah and I noticed this the other day, this little, so I can just, there we go. This flash score calculator that Ciaran's built on his website is really smart. And Sarah and I did this the other day to look at our business. And because Sarah is a Know Your Numbers lady, we went through this 20 questions, really simple. And it gives you a score, it's free of charge, just gives you a quick score on how you're doing with your cash flow forecast and your accountability on the accounting figures without making it scary at all. Very simple questions, really worthwhile going through. So, for you guys listening to this and watching this, really highly recommend this of Ciaran's. It's just a lovely little website. So that's Ciaran's scorecard. 20 questions, dead simple. Have a go at it. Really good. There's no sign up, nothing like that. You can obviously sign up for Ciaran stuff, if you want to as well. But there's no prerequisites here. And we've got his website here as well, which I really like. It's beautifully done. And yeah, there we go. The casual Ciaran sitting there, and there's just
wearing
a
shirt.
What was that? Yeah, one of those days where we used to wear shirts.
I mean, it's called a collar.
Yeah, indeed. So there we go. That's a little bit about Ciaran. So look, thank you ever so much, Ciaran. I'm just going to bring you back again and bring the Sarah in as well. So thank you for enlightening us with a fantastic, extraordinary, playful conversation about Rubik's cubes and showers and cold showers and accounting and accountants and all of those things. And we loved having you on the show, my friend. And this show will be on podcast shortly too. We've had a few problems with podcasts at the moment, just trying to get them sorted. So please remember to subscribe to our Leaders Live email as well, folks, so we can keep you updated on all our other channels as well. And the link tree link will be in the link shortly. And Sarah, any comments before we start to wrap up the show very quickly?
I think cash flow flinch is going to be the new buzzword.
We've just created a new phrase, the cash flow flinch.
We created lots of comments about the cold showers, good or bad. Obviously, a word of warning from Elaine Godley about if you've got a dicky heart, we take no responsibility. Do your research before you jump in the shower when it's cold.
Yeah, be sensible, folks. Yeah.
Be sensible and about breathing. So great reminder, Elaine, that
well done, Elaine. Thank you, Elaine.
It's not suitable for everybody, but can highly recommend it. I think also, I love the idea of the Rubik's Cube, that get your platforms in place. And it doesn't matter if you get it wrong, just keep trying. For somebody like me who can't do the Rubik's Cube, it doesn't mean to say you can't get your finances right, though. Yeah, being able to solve it is not obligatory. You can still do your finances.
There you go, folks. No excuse.
No excuse. Thought it was brilliant. Lots of wisdom in there. Lots of visuals. Thought it was fantastic, Ciaran. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, Blue Peter, eat your heart out. There you go.
So, we don't need one we made earlier when we got Ciaran on the show.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I was also thinking about knowing if you can't do things, find somebody who can, and upskilling. And I thought that was a brilliant link to obviously Marketing CX and Tilly, LinkedIn. If you need a hand, need a fresh pair of eyes, contact Tilly. She's great. And over to my lovely other half. If you need somebody to just have a fresh pair of eyes on team stuff, dynamics, struggling with your leadership, your groups aren't quite, your planning's not great and you don't know how to work together, pick up the phone, talk to Andrew. Costs nothing to talk. We'd love to help.
There you go. That's a little shout out for us. So quick reminder that Leaders Live is a free weekly show, folks. I'm just trying to bring up the right scene again. And, for all you leaders, directors, managers, entrepreneurs who are interested in business growth infotainment, edutainment, and enjoy taking part in these super extraordinary conversations we've just had today. So together in this community, we aim to make the world betterer, folks. I thought I'd get that in, and it's one of my phrases. And we want to bring a spirit of freedom, of joy and fun through the feel-good factor in all our working lives. And I'm serious when I use that phrase, because this is really important stuff. And a bit about our sponsors, Ghost. Ghost are a brand and design agency with an exceptional team of highly skilled and vibrant people that help develop and shape your brands to inspire businesses just like mine, just like yours. And they've helped me to do exactly the same. And so that's a little bit about Ghost. So thank you very much for being our sponsors. And the Goose for next week, folks. Let me just bring that in. So the Goose for next week is we have Tuesday, the 7th of February at 8:45 a.m. UK time. We hang out again with another one of my mates, Rebecca Jenkins, founder of RGen, helping businesses to grow beyond expectations. And she's a very skilled lady, is our Rebecca. And our theme is how to sell authentically without being salesy. Ooh, we think you're going to love it. And we can't wait. So be there or be square. And we're going to finish with our outro now, just on time. So that's absolutely fantastic. And we'll just say thanks again to Ciaran for being on the show. We're all going to wave goodbye to you for now. So hope you've enjoyed that show, folks. It's a wrap from our side. So from our hangout guest, Ciaran, from Sarah, from me, from our sponsors, Ghost, and the rest of the team, Marketing CX, we wish you a great week ahead. And that's all for now, folks. So we'll see you again next week. Ta-ra a bit, folks. So thank you again. And we'll see you all again next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now.